gave my whole fight, and it's time to give it up. It's time to stop and let go and let God. I did all I can do humanly, and now it's time for me to let God lead the way. Sadness is over. There's no more sadness. I have nothing to be sad about. I've done everything I ever wanted to do, everything I ever dreamt of doing, things I never even dreamt of doing. I always had a very complex life, and I never had a good psychological opinion about myself. And that's because of my upbringing and my view on my life, my whole barometer as a person. I never grasped that love of that particular identity of myself. I was never able to understand the concept of greatness. I just never was able to understand that concept of greatness. And as time went on, and I've gotten older, and I've met many journeys on people that I met on my journey, and people who I've read about on my journey. I read that the majority of greatness in itself doesn't come with goodness. The two don't coexist with one another. And I spent all my life trying to become great because I had such a low self-esteem. And I realized late in my life that all great men are not good men. And then so I tried to embark on a whole different career and try to become good. But what's the concept of good? I never understood the concept of good. The concept of good is pretty much then I must be a politician, because politicians are always striking for goodness and always trying to win votes from people. And the only reason that we win votes because they believe that we're good. So how do we live in those two dimensions at once? You want that greatness for self-gratification, but you want goodness from a human perspective. And I really have no idea, no clue how do I juggle both of them and be in harmony. And then in all actuality, they don't exist. You have to pick a side. I respect a person who's willing to die for what he truly wants. Even if it's love, even if it's a woman, whatever it is that he truly believes in, and that he believes that it transcends him to that level to demand. For love, for instance, I look at love as a command to just rise to your greatest potential. And that's how people should feel. Their objective should be to rise to their best potential in life. If it's to lose 30 pounds, if it's to pass a test, it should be to win a fight, to be admired by people all over the world. It should allow you to rise to your greatest potential, that you look at yourself in the most grandest fashion. A room without a book is like a body without a soul. It's the only way that we can connect the future with the past. Without that, there's no way that we can know about the future. We'll know about particularly the past or the present, because when you think about history, the value of history is not necessarily scientific but moral. By liberating our minds and deepening our sympathies and fortifying our will, history allows us to control not society but ourselves, which is a much more important thing to do. You know what I mean? And it would allow us to pretty much meet the future more so than foretell it. And for that reason alone, that we always have to, in order to predict the future, we have to always look through the past, because very rarely does time not repeat itself, and it always will repeat itself. I've heard a quote before in the book that we would be fools to think historically that the past is us in funny clothes, but the past is us in funny clothes. And that's truly what it is. That's somebody that really said a really profound statement, but he misquoted what he was saying. He must have been saying it backwards, because that's really what the past was. It's just us in funny clothes in different times. That's really what it is. We look at success, myself, it's different levels of success. Some people's success is not using drugs, not drinking anymore. Some people's success is making $1 million. Some other people's success is making $1 billion. Some people's success is not going to prison no more. And we have totally different levels of success. I respected Ali and I worshiped Ali, but he was very tall and very handsome. I was very short and not so handsome, and I wasn't good looking. And he was very articulate, and I spoke with a lisp. I didn't relate to two besides we were black. Ali was a middle-class kid. He had a mother and father that both worked. My mother and father was in the sex industry. So and Roberta, the grandmother, was pretty much, out there as well. And so I related to that. And I didn't have to change. I didn't have to change my diction. I didn't have to learn how to talk polite. I didn't have to be nice. I didn't have to have a proper linguistic skill. And so, if he could be accepted and be worshipped that way, I thought I would be able to as well. I don't know why. I was born with great perception. If it came from my street life, from being locked up for stealing and facing unbelievable odds as a young kid, I had great perception. And once I watched these guys fight, I just knew it was a matter of time, but I knew my time would soon come. I knew I would attain my goal before it existed. I knew that. I knew I would be champ of the world before I died. I knew I wasn't going to die before I became champ. Dying is just as glorious as living when you really think about it, because you couldn't have a life if you didn't have death, and you couldn't have death without life. So how could death be less glorious than life? They're both intertwined with one another. I must be a descendant of the great warriors of old, all the gods of war, because I'm winning with the most simplest of ease. How could these guys even dare fight me? But it was really all about cuss, and I forgot that. I had a great teacher. I'm not necessarily that I was a great fighter. I never think in my deep heart, I never think that I was a great fighter. But I'm an incredible student. I'm an astronomical student, that I could project greatness without being great. And that's why I succeeded so much. I would quote books, I would quote stuff from great warriors, Pericles and all that stuff, and people would think that is incredible, But it wasn't. It was just all illusions. And that's what comes with being a great entertainer. It's all about illusions. But it can be believed, but it doesn't necessarily have to be true. And I can project that belief in the minds of others. I never take my losses personal. And that's very difficult for athletes of any field to do. It's just not to be taken personal, because it would drive you nuts. And in all due respect, I'm not trying to be braggadocious or sure, but this is why I'm successful now after boxing, because I didn't take it personal. I'm not trying to even the score. I'm moving on to other places which are probably dark and places I've never been before, but I'm not afraid to go there. I'm not afraid to lose in life. There's nothing I would do unless I have the possibility of being humiliated. If I can't be humiliated, if I fail, I don't want to do it. Because only by doing that, I would rise to my highest potential with the fact that I might be humiliated, and I don't want that to happen. But when it does happen, then I will truly be humiliated. Because when I succeed, I truly succeed. And that's why I'm here with you. We're dealing with life on life terms. It's out of my control, truly. It's out of my control. I say, well, I'm responsible now. I have to be present for my family and my children. When that feeling comes, you have no control over it. I might want to die tomorrow. And that's just what it is. And that's how my mind works. I might want to die tomorrow. And I might want to live. But I might have killed myself already. So, I don't know how that goes. Maybe I want to die because I want to know what it's like to die. I want to know if it's just dark, like when you have one of those dead sleeps and you wake up and you wouldn't know if you were dead or not if you didn't wake up. So, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I just know right now I want to live and experience life, and I don't know what life has in store for me, but I'm not afraid to find out. I'm not afraid of dying either. I've always sought comfort from my pigeons, no matter where I live. I always have them, and I've collected special breeds of pigeons. They're called roller pigeons. Sir Anthony Hopkins played Hannibal Lecter. In that great movie, he talked about them. You know what a roller pigeon is, Barney? They climb high and fast, and they roll over and fall just as fast towards the earth. There are shallow rollers, and there are deep rollers. You can breed two deep rollers, or the young roller will roll all the way down and hit and die. It is no surprise that I have an affinity for rollers. It is really something to watch them fly high. They fly higher than all the other birds, way up on the top of the sky, and they just roll and roll and roll down. And if they're lucky, they pull out in time before they crash and head first into the ground. The offspring of two pairs of deep rollers can do that. They roll so fast that they create a suction and they can't open their wings. And if they explode on impact, it looks horrific. To us, if we put ourselves into the heart of that bird, there's nothing like that feeling, plummeting down and rolling. It is a smorgasbord of endurance and endorphins, and a dopamine and adrenaline, and a little like snorting coke and drinking Hennessy while being hooked up in a morphine drip. Both of my parents were deep rollers. I was bred to climb high and high into the sky and tumble down. I am truly grateful that I found my wings before I hit the ground.